Hello, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your program. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Pick up a free hat and or shirt every single year. You are diehard. I'm diehard for this man. To my right, it's my co-host, Brack, behind the mic. It's producer extraordinaire, Damon Dog. We are exactly 2 weeks away from the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft, and we got a little appetizer today in the form of the Vikings brass speaking about their maybe hopes, ambitions, dreams of trading up for a quarterback, Bo.
Johnny, you've never looked better, my friend. Look at him. It's just drip from head to toe, G'd up from the feet up from the PHNX locker. Look at him. You got your do you have your PHNX locker sandals, flip-flops on too? Or are you just all decked out?
No one wants to see my feet.
Nobody. No, not at all.
Never.
What's up to everybody in the chat? Jessica,
maybe
Anthony,
in the Discord.
Richard, maybe some member Discord.
I'll get people to drop their membership real quick.
Get a glimpse of that if that went down. Mike Morris, Darren, diehard Gary. He's definitely a diehard Tommy. The whole crew's here. Marco. Yeah, and Vikings general manager stood up at the podium, took some shots as far as what they want to do in the draft. And as it's like, we're going to probably talk to Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon between now and draft day. And it's the biggest nothing presser of the year. Anytime you get the pre-draft press conference, it's a big nothing burger as far as info and insight.
I disagree with Minnesota today.
Okay.
The pre-draft presser with the Minnesota Vikings today, I think, is a precursor to preparing their fan base. Maybe those that are scorned of not getting a quarterback in years prior, it's prepping them like we're going to get a guy. But then everybody else, like they could have easily said, we got 2 first-round picks. We can go a lot of different directions. We're happy with Sam Darnold, blah, blah. No, it's not what they said. Actually, I believe, Damon Dog, we have the clip as to what the Vikings general manager had to say in relation to what they plan to do and how aggressive they plan to be.
As much uncertainty as there is in the process, and how do you balance knowing that uncertainty exists with the magnitude of a decision and how much it means?
I think just because something's risky doesn't mean you have to stay away from it. It is something that is hard to grasp, but if you grasp it, you know what the rewards are, right? And that's something you have to weigh and measure. You can't look at these decisions in a vacuum. You look at the whole portfolio of decisions that go around it, the things you have to do. And you can look at countless examples of other teams who have made decisions, but maybe the decision you thought was going to be the decision, it was the different decision that ended up being right, and the outcomes were good. But it's look, I think the last couple of years, I think obviously it's out there, the results of the quarterbacks that were drafted and different things like that. I think we look at those things and we obviously honor them and respect them, but we also look at environment. And are we setting the person up to succeed? So when we talk about these players, it's not just how good are they, it's how do we get the best version of themselves if they come to the Minnesota Vikings? And we set up plans before they walk in the building. I think our odds will be better than the margins. How good are those odds? Obviously it's still a pretty risky thing, but just because something's risky doesn't mean you're scared from it. You're scared of it. You just have to believe in. It's uncertain, right? It's uncertain, and we got to take our swing. But that doesn't give us any pause, I would say.
Take a swing. Let's take a swing and open it up the checkbook of draft picks, Brock, because, again, Sam Darnold, that's risky in the form of you're going to get fired if you start Sam Darnold this year.
Certainly. I mean, that was close to 2 minutes of an answer from Kwesi there, and the former Arizona Cardinals great head coach. Bruce Arians could have summarized it as no risk and no biscuit, right? Like you have to put it out there. Obviously, you're going to have to pay the asking price to get up the draft board in order to set yourself up for success at what, and he was right by calling it, not in that clip, but the most important position in sports, right? Quarterback. You have to set yourself up, because otherwise you get stuck in quarterback purgatory, which Sam Darnold would be setting you up for, outside of barring a flash in the pan, like career renaissance. You're going to be looking like the Denver Broncos, potentially, a team that ever since Peyton Manning rode off into the sunset and they won that Super Bowl, they haven't been to the postseason. They've been searching for the next signal caller. They've gone route of star quarterbacks we'll see what they do this season, but they haven't gotten it right. And I think they're very much aware that if they don't get it right and they've got this win now roster in place, they're going to look foolish for missing their window.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've set themselves up, give them credit to support a rookie quarterback maybe better than anybody in the NFL in terms of offensive personnel. Like defense got better under Brian Flores last year, but I mean, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, that's about as good of a 1-2 punch at receivers you're going to find on your average NFL team. They've got two really capable tackles. I remember offensive line used to be a big problem for this franchise. Like, I think the biggest question mark outside of quarterback is who are they going to get to carry the football? Like, I think they're going to be pretty damn good offensively. And I think that they have the ability to sign Justin Jefferson to a big time deal when they have a rookie quarterback, right? Like, people don't talk about this enough. Like, you're not paying Kirk Cousins $50 million guaranteed anymore. You can go and take JJ McCarthy or Drake May and then allow yourself to make Justin Jefferson the highest paid NFL receiver. This trade up is telegraphed because it just checks so many boxes for them. And they know that. They know they can't get complacent. You mentioned this multiple times on this podcast, Bo. Like when the Arizona Cardinals picked 13th in a quarterback-rich draft, it didn't matter because other teams were more aggressive than them. And the Minnesota Vikings are trying to buy some insurance with their 2 first-round picks and ensure themselves that they get to the front of the line. And I'm sorry, folks, the Chargers at 5 is not the front of the line. Like our guy Trevor Sikkema was on with Rich Eisen today. Shout him out. Awesome to see Trevor on national TV, basically outlining what we've talked about for a month and a half since this trade was announced with the Vikings coming back up. The Chargers are available, yes, for the Minnesota Vikings. JJ McCarthy, I think he's minus 300, 400 to go top 5 now. However, the New York Giants and the presence of the New York Giants, despite what they're going to say publicly, supporting Daniel Jones, wanting to keep their picks in-house, there is a package and an avenue for the Cardinals to trade from 4 to 6. Because what did Monti Ossenfort in that report from Armando Segura of Outkick the Coverage outline? Very specifically, Ossenfort needs 3 ones to drop down a considerable amount out of the top 10, a la 11 with Minnesota. If you drop down from 4 to 6, that package, even with the QB tax, is lessened significantly. And they can talk themselves into maybe no Marv, but Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors. It just opens up every possibility again. So Minnesota Vikings will and should be aggressive because if they're not getting JJ McCarthy.
Well, a guy that's close to the situation has been talking about it and from a very level-headed, spot in Paul Allen. You know, he had the tweet yesterday saying that the fan base is going to be toxic. And then today I see that he's very aware of the competition to get up the draft board. Now, the Vikings are the team that is the best positioned to do so, but they're not the only team.
Right.
He's talking about that they are keeping their eye on the Denver Broncos. I mean, Paul Allen is still bandying about Patrick Surtain and this Broncos organization that could reach a spot of desperation that it would deliver you an unprecedented amount of not only draft capital, but an NFL star caliber player in Patrick Surtain potentially. I mean, that's how desperate they are at the quarterback position. Do you think that Sam Darnold is a bad option? What do they have in Denver? But so they're very aware of what they're up against and the need to improve at the position and do it through the draft.
What do you think the package would be hypothetically? Because I've said from the beginning,
I
know Benjamin Albright, who's lockstep with everything, including the Broncos, the team that he covers, has been pretty adamant. Number one, the Broncos have called, and number two, like they want to build around Patrick Surtain. If Patrick Surtain is floated in a trade package, what else would you need from Denver outside of what do they pick? 12? Yeah. You would need 12 Surtain and what else?
Probably another first. And that's crazy. Isn't that crazy?
Nice. Yeah. But that's a better package than the Vikings can offer.
I think it is. I mean, you're in your one spot below. Am I crazy for saying that, David? I mean,
no, it's a proven entity. That's what we're arguing for Marvin. We feel like that's a proven entity as a draft pick. Well, how about a guy who is in his early 20s, who's already an all-pro caliber player? I mean, that you're going to lock in for the prime years of his career. So now you have to pay him. You have to get him under contract, and Ossenfort's going to sell that, to the people in Denver. But yeah, I think Surtain and 2 ones is probably what would get it done. Cardinal fans, would they be happy with that in your estimation?
I can cope with that.
What? Mr. Hold the Line can cope
because-
with that. We found it. We found his kryptonite.
Because this is the difference here. Patrick Surtain is a superstar level player in the
He turns
NFL.
24 in 3 days. FYI, I don't mean to interrupt you, Damon.
No, you're good. But he's a superstar level player. That's what you're trying to get with these draft picks. I believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is that. So I'm saying you get a superstar. I'll still stay awake at night. But.
I wasn't anticipating this. This is the PHNX Cardinals version of the Red Wedding right now. Like, people's jaws are dropped to the floor. They did not see this coming. This is not something that we telegraphed or that we talked about before the show. I'm shocked. I think bulk of the audience is shocked.
Yeah, people are not happy.
Captain, hold the line. We found it.
We've spoiled his brain, and he's got what is it when you're captives? It's what when your captives get you, and Stockholm syndrome. That's what Damon has from being with Bo and I.
I don't want it. I would prefer that to 3
no.
first
It's
from
a
the
much
Vikings.
better deal than the Vikings deal. It's a much better deal, but we don't know if that's available. But according to Paul Allen from Minnesota, he has heard that. Well, we know the Broncos are trying to move up.
Right.
So, but we don't take them seriously. Why don't we take them seriously? Because they don't have the draft capital. But what's their biggest chip? They have a chip even bigger than Minnesota. It's an all-pro cornerback, which the Cardinals do not have. I mean, like, you put Patrick Surtain opposite Sean Murphy-Bunting and Garrett Williams goes in the slot. You don't need to draft a corner early. 27, 35, those are reserved for other players suddenly. Pretty tempting.
Man. I don't want to be in hold the line offices right now when Damon comes back in. He's got to do some damage control. This is tough. The times are tough for the HTL hashtag, but you guys are crushing it in the chat. Absolutely. How dare you, Damon? Jack Smith.
I wish I just didn't say anything.
Ozzy's trying to keep the crew together. HTL crew, stay together. Rudy, HTML. HTMFL. I mean, it's out of control right now.
Don't you think too, though, they can use this against the Vikings? Like, we talk about the Giants. If this is true, I have not heard this, that the Broncos are kind of floating out Surtain in a trade-up offer. If you're Ossenfort and you go to Minnesota, you're just like, hey, guys, how do you anticipate beating this offer? If it's 2 1s and Patrick Surtain, which Albright has also kind of floated, like if they did do the deal, Bo, it would have to be 2 1s and Surtain. Aren't the Vikings just by default out? Wouldn't you say the Vikings are done if that's the deal?
Look, I don't know if there's any legitimacy to this or if it's just speculation from people who talk about this Vikings team on a daily basis, just like you and I talk about this Cardinals team. But I'm finding this Paul Allen quote. But I mean, as far as the people who cover this team every day, they're very aware of on their peripheral as far as the teams that have the ability and what it would take to match or best of the Vikings offer. As far as just draft capital, pure draft capital, the Vikings have the most ammunition to make that move up the draft board.
I think Ossenfort specifically doesn't want to acquire talent that he immediately has to pay, but I would say Surtain is the exception to the rule. Like, Marvin's the exception to the rule for how they want to team build. Surtain, at not even 24 years old yet, only 3 NFL seasons in his book, generational player. Like, you pay a premium for a top corner. Like, I don't think they'd have an issue with that. Plus, everything you hear about Patrick Surtain, A+ player, A+ human being. So I think that can at least get me in a place, Bo, where it's like,
yeah,
you're adding talent. So while you're comparing Marvin to pick 12, you're really comparing Marvin to Patrick Surtain. And while there's a 3-year age gap,
yeah,
you know what you're getting. It's a proven commodity.
Here's the, and this is via Purple Persuasion, and according to Paul Allen of KFan 103. The Broncos are, quote, so desperate to move up for a quarterback, specifically J.J. McCarthy, that they could possibly include star cornerback Patrick Surtain in a trade. The Broncos could definitely be a threat to the Vikings. He said, quote, they're so desperate out Denver's way. I'm not kidding you, man. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, we want that 3 so badly. We want to give you pick 12. We will give you next year's first, and we'll give you Patrick Surtain. I'm not kidding you. They're that desperate, close quote. Paul Allen, voice of the Vikings, does a daily radio show in Minneapolis.
and this doesn't behoove him to falsify this information. Like, if you remember, what did New Orleans historically do in the draft with Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton? They would trade up for players. They would trade like future ones to come up and get defensive ends, right? Like, they would do things that now outside of the quarterback that would have you scratching your head. And like, Mickey Loomis, very good general manager historically, but like, most of that was probably coming from Sean Payton, putting pressure. I got to have this player. I fell in love with this prospect. Now you doubled and tripled down. It's a quarterback for the quarterback guru in Sean Payton after he just took it in the teeth. Basically, they're rolling with what? Who's on the roster? Jared Stidham. And they jet set it. Say what you want about Russ. He's going to start for another team. They're not taking Bo Nix or Michael Penix. Like, Albright's been adamant. Penix does not fit what he wants to do. And then Bo Nix, if they take him, it'll be in the second round. You're not taking him at 12. What does that leave you? That leaves you with a if you're Sean Payton, what good does Patrick Surtain do for you if you don't have a quarterback? I'm sure that's what they're talking about.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. We could go 7-10 every year. Certainly you can with Vance Joseph as your defensive coordinator. It does not matter in a division right now. And we have talked about it. You have to draft for your division. The reigning dynasty, the NFL, the darlings, Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Jim Harbaugh are making the playoffs this year. And then, say what you want. Raiders have a little bit of mojo. I think the Broncos have lost like almost double-digit games against the Raiders. Go look that up. I think it's a real thing. The Broncos can't beat the Raiders. So it's like all that mixed together, and they've had this quarterback disarray wasteland since Peyton Manning, and then before that, John Elway. It doesn't surprise me at all. You use your best asset to secure what you think is the most important position in the NFL.
The Broncos without a quarterback, or the quarterback situation they're in right now, they're the 2018 Cardinals.
No doubt.
I mean, Patrick Surtain playing the role of Patrick Peterson. You've got, you've got a decent pass rush. They had Chandler Jones. You had Larry Fitz on that team who was still playing at a decent clip. Like, that's Cortland Sutton. Like, they've got pieces. They've got some guys here and there. But man, they don't have a quarterback. They don't have anybody on that roster that can do what they need necessarily to win football games, especially in that gauntlet of a division that just added Jim Harbaugh. You just gave Justin Herbert his first real shot at the NFL level with decent head coaching, and already the Kansas City Chiefs reside in that division. It's just a mess. Still looking for that losing streak. I think it's the Broncos. Will they snap their 6-game losing streak against the Raiders? That was back to start the season. So they get swept by the Raiders this year. I would assume. So is it at 8?
Yeah,
it's at 8.
So I was right. Let's take it back to the Minnesota Vikings part of this. Like, you can sense, even in that press conference today, I know you disagree, you can sense the frustration from the fan base, from the media. You can sense the sense of urgency. No team trades up before the draft 6 weeks before with an extra first-round pick. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, typically, your draft day trade, or your pre-draft trade, rather, looks like what Carolina did last year. You're going to go from X player or X pick to number 1 to get your guy. The Vikings had to do a pre-trade just to be in competition, thus showing their hand. They were never going to be able to back off of what they did in March, and we've been adamant about that since that deal went down on a Friday. You and I got on that show and just said, there's no going backward. And I'm thankfully appreciative of what the Vikings are doing in preparation for this. They're preparing their audience. They're preparing their fan base. They're preparing their players. We're going to take a big swing. We have a risk. And if we miss, Kwesi knows it's costing me my job. But if it doesn't, you have job security for the next 10 years. And that's a selling point for Ossenfort to him. Like, hey, you believe this is your guy? You're going to be gifted job security. You want to be jumping in front of the teams that supposedly are offering up Patrick Surtain. You can't dick around with this package. That's why I laugh at people. They're like, 3 ones is enough. It's not going to be enough for Ossenfort. If Patrick Surtain's being offered, you're getting more than 3 ones.
Right. And that's probably a big point of frustration, is like, they acquired this extra first weeks ago and they thought nobody's going to be in the stratosphere for everybody. Get out of the way, pave way. Let's get our police escort from 11 up into the top 5. Quarterback, please. Can we have it? Like, we need it right now. Let's start the new era of Vikings football. But the Broncos won't go away. And then, you know, I've got our guy Joel. He's at this on Twitter. Appreciated Joel. And I saw this as well as, you know, the Raiders get the blessing from old pumpkin pie haircut at freak Mark Davis, that they have his blessing to get up the draft. That's right. Your boy where do we see him? Mobile?
No, when we were in Vegas.
We were in Vegas.
Should I grab that picture for the viewers?
Oh yeah. Did you grab a selfie with Mark Davis? David just grabbed a random selfie at one point with Mark Davis. But
like an actual selfie? You went up to him and got a selfie with him?
But
yeah, I'll grab it right now.
Get that picture. I'm
via Paul Gutierrez that Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce, they were given the blessing from Mark Davis to get up the board in the NFL draft. Now, are they legit players to get up the draft board? When you hear us talk about a potential Vikings package and Broncos package, I would think it'd be very tough for them to do so. But it's still this competition for, you know, suitors. It's good to be Monti Ossenfort. It continues to be.
Yeah, it's like me going to open houses for homes I know I can't afford, and I'm just like, hey, where are the free sandwiches? That's Mark Davis. That's what he's doing right now. But again, in all seriousness, think back. And I'm gonna keep bringing up this quote because I think like it's obvious now. No one's saying this about Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, respectfully. Sean Payton said it's good to be Monti Ossenfort. It's good to be Monty. Why is it good to be Monty? Because teams want the 4th pick. They don't want the 5th pick. The draft starts at pick 4. 3 quarterbacks are going 1, 2, 3, and then somebody wants to come up for JJ McCarthy. And it's just a smorgasbord now, a buffet, if you will, of teams that are going to be offering it. And while we peg the Vikings as the number 1 team, Ossenfort is going to use all this leverage that he has to get these teams to sacrifice their firstborn plus then. And so I think, like, again, if you're hoping to hold the line, this can't help you. This doesn't help you. Because as much as I love Marvin Harrison Jr., I can guarantee Ossenfort deems it a better option to get 2 1s and an all-pro corner, or to get 3 1s and a 2 and a future 3rd, right? They're not going to turn those packages down. So I think, you know, Rome Odunze, to me, maybe is a player that Cardinal fans, if you haven't already, start familiarizing yourself with. Because if you get enough draft capital in return, then you can talk yourself into Atlanta, maybe Tennessee, if they're so inclined to come back up and sacrifice it. The Cardinals have made it clear they want a number 1 receiver. They haven't added one this offseason. They've added a tackle. There's no pass rusher outside of Dallas Turner worthy of that spot. I mean, you go down with the Broncos, you go down with the Raiders, and certainly the Vikings, come back up for Rome Odunze. That, if I'm pegging it right now in Vegas, I think that's the play today as of, what is this, April 11th. I think the Cardinals trade down and trade back up and try to get Rome Odunze. Try being the emphasis.
Right. And then according to Tony Pauline, Rome Odunze's top 30 visit went fantastic with the Arizona Cardinals. Like, they love him. I mean, there's a lot to like. There it is. Yeah, the team did have their Rome Odunze in for official 30 visit earlier this week, and I'm told they came away incredibly impressed. And that's via Tony Pauline of Sportskeeda on Odunze's visit with the Cards. And I mean, that's right in line with what we were hearing about Rome Odunze in Indianapolis. Like, was there a prospect that was talked about in a better light than Rome in Indy? I mean, everybody said that he was blowing people away as far as their interviews that they were having at the combine. You know, he's up at the podium. He's joking. He's getting, you know, crazy scenarios thrown at him. You know, could he land a plane if he had to? And he's got hilarious responses. Like, the guy is the Riz King as far as talking to NFL teams. And he's also got the skill set to back it up. I mean, 6'3", good speed, big playmaker. He would be the perfect, you know, consolation prize to Marvin Harrison Jr. if you trade it out.
If you're talking to a team trading up with a team like Atlanta, because I think Atlanta's the team. Atlanta would have to be the team, because Tennessee's, you would assume, is not taking a receiver. Neighbors and Marvin go 5'6". You would have to do a deal with the Atlanta Falcons. That deal, I would assume, would have to include, if not a first-round pick, something comparable at this point. Like, are you comfortable, Bo, trading down to 11? You get the 3 1s plus, and then moving from 11 to 8. You're saying a third? That's the most. I'm
keeping track. I'm doing math on my hands.
Okay.
So we got 3. We're up we're up 2 first-round picks from the deal, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We're up 2 first-round picks, and I'm going to say a third rounder.
Okay.
So you get 23 this year. Obviously, you swap with 11. Then next year you get a 1 and a 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think to seal the deal with the Atlanta Falcons, and I put out a feeler on this. They don't have it sourced yet. 11-8, and it's an overpay. But if you love Rome Odunze, would you trade the pick 35 for 11-8? Because you're not in that sweet spot with 60 and 71. The trade chart says 60 gets it done.
But yeah.
But if you have competition,
but then you're picking. So you've basically made the deal. You pick up the future one, and you get up the board because basically we'll say like you're going up from 35.
You're giving 11 and 35.
For, so you're picking Rome. 8, 23,
and 27,
and then not again for until your 3 third rounders that you have.
But then you have your first next year and a third.
Right.
Like if they trade down to 11, get ready to start doing some math and figuring out how they're going to get back up.
Well, it cost them it cost them that much to get from 11 to 6. Like they had
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they had to give the Texans second rounder that,
and it was a higher second round pick. It was like 34. It was, one pick, but the demand for Rome is going to be, the Bears are taking Rome Odunze at 9.
Maybe.
Like the Falcons are going to tell you to your face that if you don't deal with us, you're not getting them. You would go to the Bears and the Jets.
Like they might.
Come on.
I'm not still completely on that. They acquired Keenan Allen. They've got DJ Moore. Like how many wide receivers do you need?
Like his time every year. I get it.
Yeah.
Rome though is the kind of prospect, along with Neighbors and Marv, where it's like depth chart be damn, and Tennessee does their own thing. Depth chart be damn, like we want to get a blue chip player.
Yeah. I mean, and look, today from Minneapolis or Eden Prairie, whatever you want to call it, where they're having that press conference, I do feel like there was a lot of, as Kwesi tries to land this plane, like he's also trying to brace them for, like, he declined to say, and I don't blame him for this, he's general manager, he can't just say how many quarterbacks that they're interested in, right? It was a ridiculous question that was asked to Jonathan Gannon at his combine press conference. Like, hey, who are 3 players you really like?
Tell us your 3 favorite players,
Jonathan. So he's not going to give up that information because he understands that it's just going to torpedo any kind of negotiations. But, him saying that he's working in concert, and Kevin O'Connell has been instrumental as far as opening his eyes to that it can look different and it could be a different prospect. And, you've got the top prospects and then you've got guys that you can put in the right infrastructure. Yeah, here's Kevin Seifert from ESPN saying essentially what he's saying is the Vikings love at least some of the top tier quarterbacks who could presumably carry a team, but they also love some of the second tier guys who wouldn't require a trade up and thus would leave them with more assets to build a better team around him. So I think that they would be the scenario where they balked at a deal and that they would be going and reach for one of these guys like Penix and Nix, maybe 11, maybe 23.
Well, but like a couple days ago, you and I would assume they balk at the deal. Cardinals probably stick and pick at 4. Like, do you feel that way? Like, I just looked at Benjamin Albright's Twitter timeline, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but he does think, that Sean Payton loves JJ McCarthy. Like, they can like Bo Nix, but he probably thinks that Sean Payton loves JJ McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think at this point, it's like, who gets outbid for pick 4? And I know that's unfortunate because we want to hold the line for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is this much traction with pick 4, how does it not get dealt? I guess is my question to you. Do you see a scenario in which Monti Ossenfort says, I'm going to go with Marv, hangs up the phone on like 4 teams?
It would take those teams calling the Cardinals bluff and then doing business with the Chargers, but it'd have to be on draft day.
Give me the odds right now that the pick is traded.
Oh, man. That's tough.
Marv's still minus 200.
He is minus 200. ESPN,
that's the odds.
ESPN had their they released this new site today where you're looking at it, it's still Marvin Harrison Jr. is still the favorite to go 4. And if a team's going to stick and take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4, it's going to be the Cardinals. But I'm sure their site doesn't take in consideration the pressure and these unbelievable trade down options that Monti Ossenfort's going to have. And to think that 3 teams would strike out on the asking price with where this pick, where it's
4 if you
the
include
value,
the
where the
Giants.
value of this pick is right now, 2 weeks from the day, it does feel like it's, I'll say 60-40 in favor of a trade down.
And on that note, let's look at Damon with Mark Davis selfie. Let's see that. As people's hearts break, let's look at our guy.
Just two boys talking shop. I was like, "Hey, Mark, you're not going to trade up, are you?" And he was like, "No, we would never. You guys are getting Marvin."
Look at the guy in the background. He's excited. He got in the picture. He'll never see this photo, but he got in it.
I value my draft capital more than I do about my haircuts.
He's a cutie, that Mark Davis. We're going to keep talking shop here. We got a 7-round mock draft upcoming. We're also going to talk about the Cardinals' top 30 visit, but they're not top 30 for me. They're top 1 of 1. It's Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals, the Venerable household, and PHNX Sports. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and folks providing financial solutions that make life better. They've got financial experts, Bo and Damon, that are committed to their members and their communities. I know from firsthand experience, helping people achieve their financial dreams and goals to make life better. On top of checking accounts, they've got savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit card, investment options, and more. It's a one-stop shop. Plus, I love all the locations here in the Valley. I can get my money when I need it. Plus, if you're an Arizona sports fan, no better place to be than Desert Financial because of the exclusive Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Show your team spirit today. Open up a free checking account online. Get an Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Go to desertfinancial.com/CardinalsBo to get started.
Add some extra cash to that checking or savings account by winning with Arizona Lottery's latest promotion. That's a blast to play. You've got 3 different ways to win as well. That's with Arizona Lottery's Arizona Adventure Lottery tickets, 3 iconic landscapes. Look at those. They're beautiful. They're the scratch-offs. Get your lucky coin and go to work, and you can win up to $50,000. Or you can check into geolocated adventures across the state, 10 destinations across the state from Flagstaff to Yuma. Just go to azadventure.com for details and directions. You're going to enter those tickets online. Stakes go up a little bit more. You can win up to $1 million and Arizona travel prizes. Don't miss out. The word is that the Arizona Lottery says the proceeds, their ticket sales, supports environmental conservation and among important initiatives across the state. Don't miss out on this Arizona Lottery, not just about winning prizes. It's about giving back to the state and its communities. Visit azadventure.com for more information on how you can take an adventure for a chance to win $1 million cash in Arizona travel prizes. Look, here's Mike McCoast, kind of an SOB. He put me on the spot. I gave an answer, and then we went straight to break. Where are you putting it as far as percentages of a trade down or a stick and pick for the Arizona Cardinals?
I didn't want to go chalk. I liked your 60-40. I think it favors them trading the pick right now. I think right now I'll go 65-35. If there's this much of a demand, and Ossenfort and company love Rome and they love Malik Neighbors and they love Joe Alt, like I don't think they're gonna pigeonhole themselves into one singular prospect, knowing that, like, if we were hearing, Bo, and we not just on Twitter, but via our text messages and behind the scenes, like that they were infatuated with Marvin Harrison Jr. beyond belief. Like, we know he's their number 1 player on their board. We know they love him as a prospect. But like, if we were hearing this is a match made in heaven, they're vibing beyond. You can't talk them out of it. We haven't heard that. And like, fair or not, I think that's less about Marvin and that's more about the state of this roster. And so if you're Monti Ossenfort and you're looking at the team and they're evaluating tape and they're looking at last year's results, what are you laughing at, smartass?
Just the chat.
They're loving it.
Control. Yeah.
Killing it today.
Yeah. We got Grinson saying that HTN for anyone who thinks we're going to trade down. We need to hold the line and get Marv.
I think it's 67-33 because that's what the books are giving you right now.
That they hold the line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Breaking per Albert Breer, he thinks we end up trading the pick because of how much it's worth. I mean, that's what we've been saying for a month. I mean, it's the most valuable 4th overall pick in the history of the draft. And I think Ossenfort is confident enough in himself, although I have to see it to believe it, especially if he does it on draft night, to go down and get back up.
Right.
Like to go down, you're passing on Marvin. Can you come up and get one of the blue chippers? Theoretically, you should be able to because of all the capital you have. But you have to make it make sense where you're not watering it down. Like I would want to give up only one pick to go from 11 to whatever.
Yeah. No, and look, I mean, and we're echoing what you were just saying. I mean, and also what you said is how come there hasn't been one time this offseason where it's like, you know what, Cardinals are evaluating, do they really want to trade out of an opportunity to get Marvin Harrison Jr. There just hasn't been any of that, smoking gun evidence that they want to select Marvin Harrison Jr. outside of that. They would be basically, he would fall into their lap at 4. And like, the conversations we had with JG in Indianapolis, and that he's been on record saying, they talked to him and they talked to his dad in Indianapolis, and, it went well. And then, he came and he took a top 30 visit as well. I mean, and they're doing their due diligence, continue to do and vet the prospects in the prospect that is Marvin Harrison Jr. But there's never been a report like Monti Ossenfort is hesitant to make a deal. I mean, from Monti himself, he said, we're always going to be open. Doesn't matter where we're picking. And in this situation, we're open to making a deal.
Get some of these super chats. You guys are crushing it. Drop a like on this video. 500 is the goal, like it is every single day. Jalen Blair, $4.99 super chat. Wait, does the package look like? What does the package look like from the Giants? You probably not getting a 2025 first. I'd rather there have Marvin Harrison Jr. than an extra 2nd or 3rd. He's worth it. I agree with that, but I also think, like, to them, more picks on day 2 and Malik Neighbors, or they could take Rome over Malik Neighbors. Might be worth it to them. It's a loaded draft, and I could see them getting another 2nd and then saying, let's trade down again. Let's get another pick next year. I mean, like I wouldn't completely discount Jalen their first next year. Again, people are throwing out all pro corners and multiple firsts, even though it's 2 spots. Like if you're Monti Ossenfort, you're probably asking for their 1.
Yeah,
that's probably why the conversation starts. And if you're the New York Giants, like the hell you get off saying no to that. If you're in a position where you think you can get your franchise quarterback, but you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you're 6 overall, wouldn't you rather say, you know what, we're going to bite the bullet, we're going to give up 1 this year instead of being in a position next year where we got to give up, if they win 7 games, we got to give up 3 ones. I think that's a pretty easy decision.
I think the Giants' decision would probably come down to which prospects on the board for them to want to really get into this just fiery negotiation where you got all these teams that are in desperation mode, and you've got the Vikings already with what they have, and then you've got, just a pick behind them, Denver and potentially Vegas, and Monti Ossenfort with the ability to evaluate, everybody's deal, probably while on the clock, and say, hey, like your day 2 picks, they don't beat what Minnesota's offering, and they don't beat what Denver's offering as far as draft capital and an NFL ready, budding star. So, I mean, their pick right now, I mean, their day 2, their 2nd round selection is the Seahawks. So it's not the Giants' own pick. So it's 47th overall. And then it's another 3rd. So you would add a 47th overall pick, and then you would have a 4th, 3rd round pick. And I don't think that gives, in anybody's opinion, your best ability to improve this roster.
Well, I would also say that people like Giants don't want to trade picks for players. They just did with Brian Burns. That's why they don't have a 2nd round play. Like, you don't think they're in the mood to negotiate? They just traded a 2nd rounder for Brian Burns. Like, I get it. People are all in on, they want to build through the draft. Their talentless roster. I think there's much more likelihood that they trade up than people give them credit for. Deuce, $10 super chat. Johnny Bo Damon Dog, $10. Thank you so much. Deuce are my podcast bros. Much love. But until the draft is over, I will keep chanting alt and tune. Despite the hate, I still love the Bird Gang too. Nobody hates you, Deuce.
No hate.
Nothing but love, my guy.
Absolutely. How about Austin M? $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Austin. Bo JV, imagine you're the new Vikes GM. In your mind, you trade 3 firsts for JJ or best player available at 11 and Penix at 23. What do you think leads to more success?
I don't know what leads to more success. I know that the trend is that Penix and Bonix are not first round quarterbacks. So if that's the situation at hand and they're trading up for another one, like I guess you could take Penix or Nix at 23 and get a 5th-year option, but like Will Levis was available at the beginning of the 2nd round last year. Like that's the comp for Penix and Bonix's, draft value. They're coming up, they're trying to come up for JJ McCarthy or Drake May or one of the big 4. And if they can't do it, they really, if they can't do it, they should just probably take position players at this point.
If they believe in one of those guys, it makes more sense to take him at 11, doesn't it? If you're giving them the keys to your franchise.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's more an indictment on them, is if they believe in those guys.
If they wait until
why did you trade up to, everybody would be like,
Right.
What are you doing trading up for your pick 23 then?
Right.
You come off as like, this can get personal real fast for Kwesi, where people will start to question his intellect as a general manager to do a trade like this and then have to falsify after the draft why you didn't use both picks to get a quarterback. Like what's the rationale there? No one does this. This is out of the ordinary, and they can spin it however they want. It's a fuck up if they don't get a QB.
And what he outlined was, you've got your top tier guys that can elevate a team, and then you got your guys that they would feel comfortable with, and the next tier guys that you would have to provide better rock solid infrastructure. In the scenario where they utilize 11 and 23 on position players makes more sense, and then somehow maneuvering the 2nd round, getting themselves in the 2nd round to get a Penix or a Nix. But that doesn't seem like you're going to go a full day and you're going to be taking some shots if you come out of the 1st round. I don't care who you're getting at 11 and 23. Topic 64, $9.99. Love Topic 64. Thank you so much for the super chat. So last night I went to a 3 Minnesota Vikings podcast, Purple Daily, Purple for the Win, and Minnesota Sports Entertainment. All 3 of their podcasts were talking about trading with the Chargers.
Would you look at that?
Their podcasts, are they, sometimes you read what you need to read, or you consume what you should consume, and sometimes you consume what you want to consume, and you read what you want to hear. And I think that's what's happening with Vikings fans. I think there are Vikings fans who are bracing for the fact that they're going to have to pay what it's going to cost to get up. And then there are Vikings fans who think they're going to trade a ham sandwich for the Chargers, the right to draft 5th overall. Like, let's wake up to reality, friends.
Right.
If that was going to happen, your deal would already be done with the Chargers.
I mean,
you have to wait until draft day if you're going to play that. If you're the Vikings, you have to wait and hold off and make sure the Cardinals take Marvin at 4 before you make that trade with the Chargers.
Absolutely.
So I disagree with
the
that.
The Vikings have to stay in contact with the Cardinals. If they go dark with the Cardinals, they could just be sitting there reading the newspaper, and the Cardinals have a deal with the Denver Broncos.
I'm not saying that you're not in constant communication with the Cardinals. I'm just saying that they wouldn't make that trade with the Chargers until after they know Marvin Harrison is the 4th overall pick.
Which
the
is
Chargers are not in the conversation
about it, though. Like, that's to sit there and say, well, that's the deal. That's the deal because to the audience that they're speaking to is the easiest to swallow. I mean, as far as what you don't want to give up the most draft capital in for a quarterback that is a bit of an enigma as far as JJ McCarthy, a guy that was, before going into March, was a guy that was a fringe 1st rounder, and you're going to give up how much? 3 1st-round picks? Yeah. So it's a lot easier for them to do a this year pick swap and maybe a future 1st, or the 2 1st-rounders they have, and JJ McCarthy's your 1st-round pick. That's way easier for them to take, and they obviously would like to go down that alley more so than, we're going to give up all this, and what could it turn out to be?
All those people are assuming the Cardinals hold the line and just take Marvin, because Marvin's a great prospect. And I think the Vikings are just kind of playing, the Vikings fans in their podcast are just playing connect the dots with mock drafts. And, the Chargers said they want to trade down. That's the team that we're going to do a deal with. Right. Where in reality, Like Kwesi probably has minimal conversations with the Chargers because he knows that Monti Ossenfort is the only person that can certifiably secure his position to take JJ McCarthy. And if at any point he cuts off communication, Bo, the Giants, the Raiders, the Broncos can make a deal. And what do you do if you're Kwesi? You're not going to be involved with that? You're not going to be involved until the very last minute with that? It's like we put it in a clip that we posted on our YouTube page. How do the Vikings allow themselves to be outbid? They just can't. And that's why I believe at the end of the day, it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings trading with the Cardinals.
Yeah. The framework, I'm sure they could talk framework as far as the Chargers if the Cardinals
contingency plans.
Charlie Sinclair, speaking of the Chargers, our resident Chargers fan, trading Kyler to Washington makes perfect sense. Just kidding, Bo. Chargers dealt with silly narratives when people thought Jim wanted to trade Herbert for JJ. Yeah, absolutely half-witted, ill-thought-out ideas from people who don't follow the respective teams that they're, for whatever reason, being paid to write about. The absurd article by SB Nation that has close to 300,000 followers on Twitter, they're tweeting out, it makes too much sense for the Arizona Cardinals to trade with the Washington Commanders, Kyler Murray in the 27th overall pick, because according to the writer, everyone knows the relationship between Kyler Murray is lukewarm with the Arizona Cardinals, which couldn't be further from the truth. It's just, it truly is like to see that stuff. I understand that you're grabbing a click, and if you're proud that you grabbed a bunch of clicks off a dumb article that you wrote that is just bad writing, go ahead and wear that as a badge of honor. But it is a true disservice to people who don't follow the Cardinals and they trust somebody like SB Nation just because they have a big following, and then to open up the article and just be fed misinformation and a continued narrative that's false. It's kind of bullshit. Like, I hate to get serious about it, but it's pretty much bullshit to one, still bandy about Kyler Murray and draft trade talk. And then again, when you open the article, it's one thing if you're searching for clicks and thinking of a bad trade up scenario in the draft, but then also it be based on misinformation, because that's exactly what it was.
I don't like to do this, but I'm going to call it the writer. James Dater, SB Nation. This is his description on SB Nation. Once saw a man buy a squash thinking it was a cheese. He's got 4.9 thousand followers. And then in his SB Nation bio, it said attended the wrong college by accident. So those are his credentials. So we appreciate that. The SB Nation's got good Cardinal writers. They write for revengeofthebirds.com. I don't know, James. That's really unfortunate. Again, as you mentioned, because of the platform that they're given, hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm sure there are people within the company that would like to see that used a little bit more on legitimate reports and not cockamamie bullshit. Topic 64, $4.99. Denver trading Patrick Surtain is like the Cards trading K1 will not happen. Hashtag hold the line. I disagree. I think Sean Payton's a wild card, and I think he's liable to do anything. But I would still say it's unlikely at this point. But if the Broncos really want to get involved, that's their chip to get involved. Don't you think,
right.
Bo?
Look, I've never bought that like Minnesota would ever talk about Justin Jefferson. Like I think he's off the table.
Yeah,
because I think the quarterback that they want to get up to grab you want to couple him with Justin Jefferson. So I've never bought into that, and I think Patrick Surtain is approaching that, but at the same time, I don't think that he's I don't think he's a deal breaker. I think that he's somebody that they want to protect, that they want to keep with and move forward with. But at the same time, if they get truly desperate and they feel like they have to get up for just their franchise to keep its head above water for a season in just a gauntlet of division, then what are you going to do? How are you going to compete and contend with the team like the Vikings with that draft capital? The only way you can do that is with your ace up your sleeve, and it's a proven commodity in Surtain. So, but I still think that's a very long shot scenario, and I think it's mostly based out of speculation. Cartfish, $5 super chat.
I just say real quick,
Yeah.
I need that all pro level player back that I know is an all pro, like in a package, or else I'm holding the line. Yeah, I'm sorry if people want to get mad at me, but the whole point of me,
no one can get mad at you over Surtain.
Is because I want that blue chip level player that raises the ceiling of this team, that is a superstar. And if I can get that plus extra draft capital, I'm going to consider it. That's the only way I'll be decently happy with it. If we trade for unknown picks in the 11th overall mid pick, I'm going to be sick.
Well, let me tell you that. I mean, that's what Kwesi was talking about, was the uncertainty and the risk. And you still need to be willing, especially with your confidence at the dish, that you're going to be able to hit home runs.
I disagree with you, Bo, as it relates to like Peyton. Unlikely. I think it's Peyton's only card to play if he loves JJ McCarthy. Sean Payton wasn't there when they drafted him. I think cornerback value has gone down a little bit. We've seen like rise of guys who put their hand in the dirt. I think cornerback value, I think is oversaid. Now he's the best corner in the NFL. They also haven't paid him yet, so they haven't committed to him long term. I think if there's a window to do something like this, this is where the dominoes kind of fall into place. And again, Sean Payton got a blank check from the Walmart people from the Denver Broncos to come in and do his thing. And I think that you're cutting and taking that cap hit from Russell Wilson. You're doing whatever the hell you want. I honestly believe that he is a rogue renegade that is liable to do anything.
You don't think Sean Payton believes in Jared Stidham? You don't get that vibe?
I think Sean Payton looks at Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and is like, can Patrick Surtain play quarterback? Quarterback, we're absolutely toast. He could go dick around with Jameis Winston and Teddy Bridgewater in the NFC South and be competitive before Brady got there. Not in the AFC West. You're going to get bludgeoned real quick.
Yeah, be another sub 500 season. Carpfish, $5 super chat. Thank you. Carpfish, another thing to consider is Broncos are probably going to be worse than the Vikes and will have a substantially higher pick next year.
Sacrificial lamb. Put JJ McCarthy out there and win 4 games and give us a top 10 pick.
Is this show coming together that the best path is the Broncos? A Broncos trade down?
This was also part of my thought process. There's a way better chance that a JJ McCarthy-led Broncos team in 2025 is awful with no Patrick Surtain, no cornerstone of the
Broncos are terrible anyway.
The Vikings are going to be
2016.
Yeah.
The Vikings are always competitive. That's
a top 10 pick.
Broncos. I think the Broncos, they had Levi Wallace, who was cast off by the Steelers.
Tucson legend.
Yeah, maybe he's the replacements for Surtain. I don't know. Topic 64. Knows about good secondary play. Guys, I get it. We're tired of losing, but too much trade is this. Swap that. Move back up. Too much playing with fire might get you burnt. Kuiper, ESPN, me, Damon Dog, and everyone else just wants to hold that line.
Damn right.
Well said. Maybe topic 64 should lead the charge as far as the hold the line crew.
I mean, he's an officer. He's in the front. There's no doubt.
Kyle Nelson, $1.99, 11.23, and a nice ham and cheese sandwich. I'm assuming Kyle is a Minnesota Vikings fan. I'm going to tell you that ham and cheese sandwich better contain about 3 more picks in that buffet. If you're at Subway, I'm going to continue to add on the layers, baby. Right. It's 3 ones plus. That's the deal. If it even gets done for that amount. Richard, $1.99. What does the Raiders trade look like?
Let's take a look at some of their draft capital. I don't know if it's even like.
I think they're just chalk with their picks at this point. They have no tradable players the Cardinals would want that they're going to part with. They're not parting with Max Crosby. Cardinals don't want an old Devontae Adams. I mean, it would have to be. Now that's a team too that you could bank on them sucking real quick. The things going south. That team's. I don't think they're equipped.
Theirs look like this. 13, 44, 2025, and 2026 first.
I wouldn't hate that. I'd like that more than the Vikings package.
But is that the only way they get money on the phone?
No doubt.
Yeah.
But are they doing that from? I don't think they want JJ McCarthy that bad.
Yeah.
I think they're just gonna Minshew and Aiden O'Connell is their, and I think PHNX makes sense there. They're not. I don't think the Raiders are legitimate. AFC Charlie's back, $1.99. Chargers aren't giving you a discount, so you deal with AZ 100%. Like, Bo, you brought this up. The notion that the Chargers are just going to say, like, yeah, we'll just give you a lesser deal because the Cardinals took a receiver. No, like the deal is that.
Did Monty give a lesser deal because they were trading up for an outside linebacker last year? No, he fleeced them.
You don't think Harbaugh's going to put his feet in the sand and just be like, hey guys, this is the price. We'll just take Malik Neighbors. you're either going to pay like you're going to pay 100% of the trade up with the Cardinals or 99 with the Los Angeles Chargers. But the difference is you're going to get assurance with the Cardinals that you're going to get JJ McCarthy. Like, that's the difference. You have no assurance with anything unless you're on the clock with the Chargers.
Baharo 3, Texans wanted the Minnesota pick trade, or just wanted the trade down with the Vikings for picks for Diggs.
Disagree.
It was reported by Shefty that the Texans initiated the phone call with the Vikings. People have been saying that in the last couple of days in the chat.
Vikings people want you to think that. Schefter via Kwesi wants you to think that.
Tom Bauer, 199 super chat. We got a 7-round mock draft coming up. So thanks for the great show as always, boys. Hashtag hold the line. Thank you, Tom. Our guy, Tom.
Great guy. Charlie's a great guy. Pumping in these super chats as
That's
a
right.
Charger fan. $4.99. Albert Breer continues to say Peyton missing out on Mahomes when he was at 11 haunts him, and Chiefs jumped to 10, so he's motivated. I think you have 3 teams with Peyton and the Broncos, the Vikings and Kwesi, and the Giants at 6 in particular, who have been so unwatchable at quarterback that if they feel like they can get their guy, they have to go up and do it. Like, we're not talking about limbo. You got Alex Smith, you're the Chiefs, and you can get cute and trade up and you hit a lottery ticket on Mahomes. These are franchises that have been out. I mean, Vikings had Kirk Cousins. They had to pay him a premium. None of these teams have had homegrown quarterbacks of note in the last, I mean, certainly the Giants since Eli Manning. I mean, it's been an embarrassment. And so they feel like each team has an offensive coach that can elevate said quarterback. Brian Dable, Coach of the Year, Sean Payton, Super Bowl champion, Kevin O'Connell, playoffs last year, Kyle Shanahan disciple. So, yeah, you're going to pit those 3 teams against each other.
Charlie, yeah, so we got that. And then Deuce, $5 super chat. That draft also haunts Cardinals fans, by the way.
We don't talk about it.
They were at 13. Monty plays 4D chess. We know not what he will do. We just have trust in Monty and JG. For all we know, we might get MHJ and Alt somehow, some way. Hashtag Alt F4.
That was supposed to be when the Houston Texans were bad, dudes. Right. I can appreciate the pipe dream, though. Trinell for $2. Give me Surtain and Rome, please.
Can you imagine?
Would you take that over Marvin? Would either you take that over Marvin?
Man, Surtain.
I'm not answering. I'm not allowed to.
So you would get this deal goes through. Damon's not allowed to sell.
You would get back up because you wouldn't get Rome at 12. You probably wouldn't get Rome at 12. So you'd have to get back up. So you use a little of the capital.
Yeah, probably a lot of.
But then you're picking at 27, right? Or no, are you using that?
I don't know.
Surtain, I mean, you're going from like 11 to 8, so I don't think you need that to use that.
You probably use one of your thirds, maybe 2 of your thirds,
maybe 2.
No, if you're going from 12 to 8, you're giving up pick 35.
So you gave up 33 last year.
You're giving up 35.
From 12 to 6. So, all right.
We're going to do a 7-round mock draft. There will be trades. Everybody just hydrate, get a snack, buckle up. It's our biggest mock draft to date. But before we do that, I'm going to get a snack. Well, after the show, at our friends at Circle K, because I'm a member of the Inner Circle. And guess what? It's time for my 6 free selection on pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, and more. You guessed it. It's America's Thirst Stop, and they've got a new free membership program. I'm a member. Bo, Damon, how about our guy, Michael Wilson? He's a member of the Inner Circle. Join now. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups with Circle K as a member of the Inner Circle. From there, save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Join the Inner Circle now for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com/store-locator to find the nearest Circle K to you. I was just at Circle K this week. I filled up. It costs a segment of what some of these other premium gas places are calling. It's just ridiculous. Gas prices have gone up now. I'm saving money every single time. You can too. Love Circle K. Love free stuff. Get it today.
And you and me both. Also, Damon Dog, and hopefully a bulk majority of the audience is saving money at the pump with Circle K. Also, let's get you some more cash with the easiest, best way. It's daily fantasy made easy with our friends over at Prize Picks. It's high payouts, went up to 100 times your cash. It's simple to play with Prize Picks. Simple gameplay, just pick more or less. That's pretty easy, right? Or fast, secure withdrawals, cash out as little as 15 minutes. That's all you have to do. Go to Prize Picks right now. Sign up for your account. Absolutely do that. Use the promo code PHNX right now, and they will give you a price match deposit up to $100 with Prize Picks. So get in right now. Go to prizepicks.com/PHNX. Use that code PHNX for your first deposit match up to $100. It's prizepicks.com/PHNX and use that code PHNX. You pick more, you pick less. Suns games, D-backs games. We'll see if the NFL draft is involved in that. That'd be pretty legit as far as are they going to be picked more or less than a certain pick? We'll see, but right now, Prize Picks, it's still your best way and easiest way. It's gameplay, daily fantasy made easy with Prize Picks.
We teased it. We're doing it. 7-round mock draft. We are 2 weeks out from the 2024 NFL draft, the biggest draft maybe in the history of the Arizona Cardinals. What direction will they go? That is unforeseen, but what direction will Bo, Dame, and I will do? Well, let's check it out right now. I'm going to share my screen via the 2024 NFL mock draft simulator. Gentlemen, let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it. It's glorious.
We're going 7, baby. 4, and we'll turn down the speed just for these first couple picks. Do I need to adjust the settings here, gentlemen?
No, don't touch them.
I'm going to tell you right now, I think we should make the trade before the trade down or before the draft begins.
You want to do the trade with who?
I think we do it with Minnesota.
Okay.
I think the Minnesota Vikings are desperate enough, and we're going to do this mock with what we believe will happen. So it's 11, it's 23, it's a first next year, which they can kiss my ass. We'll force this trade. And then
I think they'll still take it. I've done this just mock draft goofing on my own, and they do take it without having to force it.
We'll offer the trade real quick. Yeah, we'll force it here. You guys comfortable with that? 3 1s and a third in this scenario?
I am.
Okay, we're going to force the trade. Well, it was accepted. Kwesi comes up on the clock, or maybe same day, for J.J. McCarthy. The Cardinals are now picking at 11. Now, we can pause this mock to try to get up, okay?
Okay.
So we'll start this draft now, and here we go. Caleb Williams goes first overall to the Drake May goes second. Patriots go Jaden Daniels. Vikings go J.J. McCarthy. So we've got the top 4. Now we're in a position. Do you want to try to make a deal with the Chargers? Do you want to try to make a deal with the Falcons? What are you guys thinking?
So Marv is still on the board. The Chargers are on the clock. What are you willing to give up to get up?
I mean, obviously you're going to go from 11 and you're going to give 5. I mean, I'd have no issue giving up pick 23. I'd have no issue giving up pick 27. So you're basically giving them an extra first rounder. You've already have a first rounder in the 20s, plus then you have your picks next year. Are you comfortable with this trade?
I mean, they are all in on this deal.
I mean, you can do 35. What we want to be realistic though, since we're forcing trade.
Yeah.
What do you think is realistic? I think a first this year is realistic.
So yeah, let's do 27.
Do we need to add any other capital?
Just to make it fairsies?
Yeah, I would probably say 27 and maybe like 104. They would probably want multiple picks.
I mean, this is kind of the deal. You can kind of look back to the deal to get back up to get Paris at this point.
Okay, but you got to give up a future third, I think. Because the Cardinals got a third from Houston in that deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got two. Did they get 2/3? I can't remember. Gave up
I'm
a
looking
third.
at the Paris Johnson deal to come back up. So they traded for the 6th pick. They gave up a 2023 with a 2023 for third. They pick swapped and a 2nd round pick and a 5th round pick.
Okay, so what are you looking at additionally we have to give up?
I don't think you have. I mean, 27's pretty heavy. I think I mean, what you got for a pick swap and a 3rd round pick, you gave up to get up from 12 to 6, and you're going from 11 to 5. It's the same amount getting up.
Does the chat think it's fair?
Let's see. So, I mean, you could just maybe give, I don't know, maybe 35 is too cheap. So
I think they got to come away with a 1.
I mean, you could go 35 and a 4th or a 5th round pick.
I don't think they're taking that. I think you got to give them a 1st.
So give them 27. All right.
We've done it. It's glorious. The Cardinals.
He's home.
Is this technically holding the line?
I would say so.
So we get Marvin Harrison Jr. at 5. Gave up 27. We're back on the board.
I know you can't really do 3-team trades, but I think that this would essentially be that. Each team would have to be okay.
I agree with you, Damon, but that's just unprecedented in today's NFL.
Yeah, not often.
Malik Neighbors falling to 9. Shocking development. Just see some of the usual suspects here. Bo Nix to the Steelers. That's hilarious. Arizona's on the clock. Jerzon, Johnny Newton make the most sense, gentlemen.
I mean, there's a lot of good players and prospects on the board right now, from Johnny Newton, Cooper DeJean, Marius Mims, Kool-Aid, JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, Graham Barton. I would go with either Newton or, I mean, Barton's intriguing to me just because of his versatility playing in the interior. You know, JPJ might be one of the best interior offensive linemen in this draft, but
Newton or Coop.
Look at what defensive tackles are being paid now.
Yeah.
I think this is the play,
especially Johnny Newton. The chat, it's split, but you got Scott Tracy, Ozzy both saying Newton. You got Trinell saying JPJ. You got John saying Kool-Aid. Let's go with Johnny Newton. Let's pull the trigger.
Bartons too. Surprisingly.
Yeah. I don't think that's surprising.
Back on the clock here. Let's look at some of the cast-offs. Darius Robinson going 34. Jordan Morgan, pride of Tucson there, going 32nd. Chop Robinson at 30. Tyler Guyton, some of our favorites. Now, I think this is the place where you'd love to take an offensive lineman, but it just didn't fall that way, gentlemen, unless you want to go with Zach Frazier, who I do like.
Yeah, and Baldy said yesterday he loves him. What kind of trade options do you have?
Well, let's see. The Tennessee Titans that you've done deals with before, 38 for 35, presumably. Could you get 106? You absolutely could. So you're going 104 and 106. I think this is a pretty enticing deal to drop down 3 spots.
Yeah, let's do it.
Offer this trade here. Let's hope Zach Frazier is still available as we come back here. And yeah, he absolutely is. So the players that went, Sweet Baby Xavier Leggett, 37, Ladd McConkey, 35, and then, of course, a safety from Minnesota, Tyler Nubin, goes 36. I think Zach Frazier is the play here, gentlemen.
Let's take the center interior offensive lineman from West Virginia. I like it.
So now we've got what looks to be between 66 and 106, 5 picks in the next 40 picks. I'm sorry. And I think it just became a hell of a lot easier to make this decision. I know we've already taken a disrupting defensive lineman. Chris Jenkins falling to your lap here, I think, is a gift.
So you're sitting here at 66, then you're right back on the board at 71. So, I mean, I see guys, you want to get a guy like Chris Jenkins.
This is BPA range.
Yeah.
It is. It absolutely is.
And then you can come back and you can get your guy like a Braylon Trice who comes off the edge out of Washington. Or, you know, we haven't addressed corner yet, have we?
No, we haven't. But again, they're going to be options.
You can get in the next pick a Kyrie Jackson. So yeah, let's take best player available here, Chris Jenkins.
One of Harbaugh's favorites that he's ever coached. Unfortunately, it looks like Jackson goes 2 picks later to the Patriots. They reunite him with their first rounder from last year in Gonzalez. Cardinals now looking at a scenario in which they've got safeties and off-ball linebackers. My eyes are burning. But as you mentioned, Braylon Trice is available. Devondre Sweat's off the Cardinals board, we would assume. Is this a position in which you want to double dip on a receiver, gentlemen?
No, not necessarily, because I actually like the wide receiver depth beyond this.
Okay.
I like the edges here.
Yeah, I do like the edges as well. Like as David pointed out, so we've got Trice, we've got Gabe Murphy, who is a TFL machine, kind of overshadowed by Latu and UCLA, and then you've got another guy like Dorlus can play all the positions, but I think you now want a true off-ball linebacker. So let's get Braylon Trice, bring him home.
Really nice prospect that played a lot of big-time football for the University of Washington. And again, like while Marvin is the headliner of this draft, the Cardinals are really doing themselves well with their defensive front seven, which, gentlemen, it's been underserved for a long time.
Yeah. I'm looking here, and I know you see some running backs, but I think that your play is Renardo Green out of Florida State at the corner position.
We dominated Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Gannon was watching that game. 6 foot, 186. Good game against LSU. I mean, played his best games against some of the better teams on their schedule.
That was the worst, I think, passing attack game that LSU had that entire season.
Well, you know, he's lined up against, you know, future first round picks. I don't have an issue with this. I mean, again, you're going to have back-to-back picks. Like 104, 106 feel prime for a receiver running back combination. So, yeah, let's do it. Let's go Renardo Green. The only issue with this draft, and I like it a lot, it's A+, is you didn't address tackle depth long term. But again, you've had Jonah Williams, plus you've got 2 1s next year. I think it's safe to assume one of those picks maybe on a developmental offensive tackle.
Yeah. You got the versatile player out of Utah. He plays safety. He was playing on the offensive side of the football. You got Ray Davis, who just came in for a top 30 visit, the running back out of Kentucky. Do you find
Show me the receivers, Johnny.
I'm looking for our boy out of USC, Mr. Rice, and I have not seen him drafted yet. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but it looks like it has. I don't see him here. It's not looking good.
Swing a little bit and miss on the wideouts.
This is, I mean,
but we got Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, yeah, but can I just make a point here? This is why you have to get a receiver early, because as much as we think we can sit here and feel good about prospects later in the draft, and
I do.
But like look at how the top 40 picks transpired. Xavier Leggett 37, Ladd McConkey 35.
Are you playing this guy? You address bigger needs. You got Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'm saying if you don't take Marvin. My point is like, look how watered down this board is by the time you get to the 4th round. I mean, it's everybody who thinks that, you know, Jerry Rice's kid's going to be available at the end of round 3. I don't think that's likely.
Missed Cowing. Just missed him. I know Johnny loves him.
His former boy from Maricopa.
You should love Jacob Cowing, Johnny. He's literally from Maricopa. He went to Maricopa High School.
That's wild. Now I have to root for him. I think Ray Davis is the play here just because they brought him in.
Let's do it.
Ray Davis, 5'10". He's a little bit in between Michael Carter Jr. and James Conner. But,
you know, good size.
Yeah.
5'10", 216.
They like him a lot. And then we're back on the clock here. You know, to me, at this point, it's like, can we just do a developmental tackle just for some depth here? Kid out of
Eichenberg.
Yeah. How dare you? I mean, Pittsburgh, they were pretty unwatchable at times, you know, last couple of years, but he didn't play a lot this year. He only played 3 games. Never mind. I don't want him. Eichenberg is somebody that I think Gannon would love.
No, he's way too early. I don't even know if he should be drafted.
Just a raging lunatic.
Go down a little bit, just a little, slide down the board.
We trade down? Ooh, Cade Stover.
I like Cade Stover. Brownlee.
Let's trade down.
I like Jarvis Brownlee Jr., the corner out of Louisville. I do. Where are we right now in the draft?
106. Fleece the Broncos here. Let's do this. How about that little bit of this action here? What do you think?
Whatever you want to do, my man.
Oh, wow. That's a nice ringing endorsement for your boy. All right, so we're dropping. We're getting bodies. We're getting bodies to fill out this roster. Brownlee Jr.'s gone.
Thanks, dude.
We missed out on some of the players we were just talking about drafting.
Cooper Beebe.
Ooh, I like Cooper Beebe, interior offensive lineman. I think you pulled the trigger right there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had planned to do. Worked out exactly how I had hoped.
Yeah, that was Megamind stuff, Johnny.
Ozzy says Johnny's just cooking right now.
I am. Ooh, is this tempting? Ooh,
We just
You
took Ray Davis.
I don't know.
How many running backs do you need? You get out of here.
Goodbye, Ray. Ugh.
It's a good run, DeMercado.
Stenot is interesting at the tight end position.
Our boy from Ohio State must have gotten drafted. These are good numbers. Damn.
Yeah, no, he's good. I actually like Sanat. He was good at the Senior Bowl too.
Yeah.
A little undersized for what they like at the position, though.
But they're I don't think they're gonna have Swaim back.
Stover's only 6'1", so that's real undersized.
Is he really?
I believe so.
All right, we'll take him. That's good value. It's a value pick. Speaking of value picks,
you got so many running backs.
Christian
Boyd, yeah, he's been in for a top 30. Have we done enough to beef up the defensive line? Or
someone that we just signed getting cut?
That's the play. Well, we
Look
have
at Kalen King
two already.
Man, the fall of Kalen King. What happened to him?
People will talk about that for centuries. He's a first rounder.
When we were at the Senior Bowl and we were watching Kalen King, or at least we thought it was another Penn State corner who was just
Dixon.
He was just toast every single play, and we're like, did Kalen King, was he a victim to, what was his name, Johnny Dixon, just being trash? We had a trash can out there.
I think Bo and I could have gone out there and routed up Johnny Dixon with the way he was performing out there.
Boyd's fine, but we already took 2 defensive linemen here. We have two top 2-3 round defensive linemen.
Yeah, you just don't have a war daddy.
I think developmental tackle, man.
I just don't know anything about Satoa Lamia out of Utah.
I feel like
can I please take Braylon Allen here?
No, we're not taking 2 running backs when you've already got
people will be sick.
James Conner, Michael Carter, DJ Dallas, Ray Davis. Like it's a lesson. Like you can wait on running back in this draft potentially.
You're no fun. All right, what are we doing here? We trading it for a player? You just try to go get a veteran from somebody?
Keep scrolling down a little bit.
I think Boyd still would be in play.
Grayson Murphy.
I really we just went tight end. I like Theo Johnson.
What about Zach Zinter on a redshirt year because he got hurt?
Yeah.
3 interior linemen?
They're gonna kill this pick, but you just sit him this first. He was gonna be a first round pick.
It wasn't Gabriel Murphy's not there, right? It's his brother Grayson. Yeah, that's for all our friends out there. Beware when you're mock drafting. Grayson Murphy is the brother to Gabriel Murphy. I'm serious. And one is really
twin brother.
productive
Yeah,
at
Bo and
UCLA,
I figured this out this week,
and the other one was not so much.
I've known that for weeks. All right, what do you want to do? You guys pick.
I think if Zinter's hurt, that's fine with this as many picks as they've had already. Like,
what about a Taj Washington out of USC? Wide receiver.
Yeah, 1,000 yards. Damn. He was
What's
cooking
his
with
size,
Caleb.
Johnny? What's his size? That's a
all
big.
Right, let's all do a prayer circle. It's over 6 feet. All right. I would rather actually take Christian. I would take the positional value. I think I'm taking Christian Boyd.
Okay.
In the grand scheme of things, you never have enough good defensive linemen. Let's speed this puppy up.
You just made a monster defensive line.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of them can rush the edge, but
we still have 3 picks left. What do you think? A defensive lineman here?
Johnson.
I mean, a lot of these just play to what we've already drafted. You want to look at this Mr. Holker, another Colorado State product. I
think the tight end room's pretty solid right now.
The heir apparent to our boy?
No, there's no heir apparent to a young tight end. Man, Dylan Johnson, you really could have waited at
Nehemiah Pritchett.
Yeah, I like Pritchett, who they had in a top 30. Good speed. We really didn't find a big time prospect at the corner spot, so maybe flood it with some numbers.
I like SEC players, you know that. All right, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
We didn't take a tight end already. Tip Raymond out of Illinois. Man, his blocking highlights are pretty elite. But I watched him at the combine, and I swore he dropped more passes than he caught.
I don't know if he's an NFL player.
Yeah.
What about Mr. Ross? Walter Ross played left tackle for Oklahoma. Man, he's being disrespected a little bit. I mean, is this the worst thing in the world? Is a swing tackle?
Look at his number against U of A in the bowl game. Damon Did U of A have anybody coming off the edge that should have beat him up like they did?
Taylor Upshaw.
Upshaw.
He didn't give up a sack this year. So he had a
good
851 pass. This is who we're taking. I'm 6'6",
320.
If
So
his
he was the
ceiling,
left tackle to Tyler Guyton playing right tackle with a lefty quarterback.
I mean, I think just if he just makes the team, it's the 6th round. That's a good pick. These are the kind of picks the Cardinals need to be making because the floor is so high.
We're talking about
how many times have they made picks in
we're
this?
Talking about picks they have to make as we're sitting here throwing darts in the 6th round. Jordan Whittingham,
slot receiver,
494 yards and a touchdown.
Slot,
I'm good, man.
Yeah, not very productive.
Go look at Ladd McConkey's stats. Are we going off his stats now, Damon?
Stud.
Ladd McConkey had 400 yards last year.
I've told you I wouldn't draft Ladd McConkey.
Gotcha.
Not at that value.
So
give me Ricky
last pick?
Pearsall.
Yeah, these numbers are pretty encouraging. I know he didn't have any picks, but goddamn, played a bunch of slot corner. I mean, could you kick Garrett Williams outside?
Isn't Sanistrell the slot corner for Michigan?
Or no, I'm sorry. This is just corner. This is slot.
More outside.
Yeah. I think this is the play.
John wants to know if we'll go quarterback last pick. I think the quarterback room, I mean, it would be just a camp arm. And I don't know if you want to waste a pick on that.
I like the developmental corners and then one or two pop under JG. And I like using premium picks on front 7 players. All right. Our 7-round mock draft, again, less painful than you would expect because of what happened with the initial trade. Looks nothing like a report card I ever received. Recapping Marvin Harrison Jr., the trade down with obviously Minnesota and then the trade up. So we netted a 1st and a 3rd next year that's untouched. Those are the goods. And then we also landed MHJ, Jerzon Newton, Zach Frazier with our first 3 picks, Bo.
Yeah, not bad. And then we continued to go with, value. We started beefing up that defensive line, continued to add on it. So you got 2 Big Ten ass kickers between Johnny Newton and Chris Jenkins. Braylon Trice, you had on the edge, local product who played his college ball up at Washington. Bernardo Green, we tried to figure out some projectable prospects at the corner spot. Ray Davis, running back, who was a top 30 visit. Cooper Beebe, who was there, I think Cooper Beebe is a guy that comes from the Big 12 playing at Kansas State that could start, I think, in the right situation for the Arizona Cardinals at a guard spot.
We go back.
Click on Cooper Beebe, Johnny.
What's that?
Does it show up? No, I wanted to see how he did against Texas, against those interior defensive linemen that were at Texas. I think
he's got a low ceiling, but I think we look up and he's just like a 6-7 year starter in the NFL. I think that we won't be surprised by that.
Johnny felt bad for the Broncos and traded away a pick and out of a spot to get some names we actually liked. But then we came back and took a tight end, Ben Sinnott, Christian Boyd.
Good value.
Line. Like our defensive line with the acquisitions they made and then the guys they can develop. Nehemiah Pritchard, somebody they've had in a top 30 visit, Auburn corner, Toolsy, under 4.40. Walter Roos, tackle position at Oklahoma, and then Josh Wallace from the Michigan National Championship team, a cornerback. What did we get overall? I can't see what was the overall grade?
An A. That's pretty good.
Not
an A-.
Regular River.
An A.
If this happens.
Probably our best draft we've ever done here on PHNX Cardinals, in my opinion. But again,
somebody said Johnny low-key cooked.
Well, again, this is not tongue in cheek. You get Marvin, everything else takes care of itself. You don't.
Johnny just take credit for that draft. Like he was the one. He was the one.
I would have taken Braylon
there.
I would have taken Braylon Allen.
Maestro.
Yeah, had the guys told me not to.
Looking back on it, I would have preferred Braylon Allen instead of Ray Davis in the spot we got him at.
I agree.
But we tried to stay true to what they've been doing in their top 30 visits, and we took how many players that they've had in there. We took at least 3 or 4 top 30 visits in that mock draft.
It's our first 7-rounder in a long time. We will have another 7-rounder before the draft, and it's just a little lesson learned. Like there's going to be some talented running backs later on that you could hold off and address a different position. I think that draft right there it deserves a like. I see close to 150 likes right now on this video. Like it. Let's get this thing up to 500. It's do wonders for the show. Get in front of more eyes, more ears. People could see Johnny and only Johnny Cook in that mock draft. Well, Damon and I just were sitting along the side like some cheerleaders, just cheering him on, supporting him.
It's nice to have you guys in the stands. It's nice to have an audience. It's also nice to have friends, family, PHNX Cardinal faithful. 2 weeks from today, we'll be the Mecca of Cards draft coverage, Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass. Myself, Bo Brack, Damon Dog, Britton Golden, Saul Bookman, the entire crew. Coach Stark's in the house. Everybody will be there. You get your tickets. Hopefully, they're sold out. We're giving out 3 more tomorrow. 100+ capacity for your premier Arizona Cardinal draft party. Free food, free drinks, great vibes, and hopefully the beginning of the new era of Cardinal football, a crescendo, if you will, just like the draft you just saw. This is just an appetizer. The draft coverage starts Thursday, April 25th. We will be live on air throughout the duration of the first round. The next day, same thing, live on air, second round, third round. We're still fine-tuning, Bo, our plans for day 3. We will have content. We will have coverage. Again, one-stop shop for everything Arizona Cardinal draft coverage starts and ends here at PHNX Cardinals. Kicks off 2 weeks from today, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Wild Horse Pass.
Here's what we're up against as far as day 3, what we're trying to figure out. Will our wives leave us if we decide to do live coverage that day? If we continue to abandon our families for a third straight day, and if they give us the green light, we're going to be there. No, very, very well could be us just held back up in the studio for a third straight day.
I think it's projecting right now for us to be live in studio.
Absolutely.
I think
if Johnny and Bo are not there, it'll just be me on screen. Just
Damon.
Sad.
No, we can't allow that to happen. So that's
either sad or happy. Either the line was held or it was not. Also, one thing that everybody needs to know about the Keep It at 100 Golf Classic. It's the second year going for us. Can't wait to get back out to Jobson Ranch. Talk about a great event in the draft, the PHNX Cardinals draft party. Following that up, May 10th, Keep It in 100 with our friends from BDE, Big Drive Energy. May 10th, Scramble, Dobson Ranch. Last time this event went down, I had to leave early because the Arizona Cardinals released DeAndre Hopkins, not expecting that to happen. 7:30 shotgun start. Early bird pricing's going on right down. Don't miss out on it. Check it out right now. Go phnx.com. Get yourself a foursome. Get in on the fun. It was a blast. It's going to be a blast once again this year.
It basically pays for itself.
Yeah,
like with last year, you got breakfast, you got lunch. Both were high quality meals as well.
Mm-hmm.
You got a free polo. And then there was gift bags, merch, and then raffles afterwards of like pretty expensive prizes.
Yeah.
This has been a fun show. Tomorrow it's Fan Mock Friday. Get your mock drafts in. How many Monties can you get? Can you approach the elusive full Monty? Plus, we're giving away more tickets to the draft party. If you want to be entered into the raffle, DM myself, Bo Brack, Damon Dog, Twitter, Instagram. DMs are open. Come with your full name. It's 1 ticket up for grabs. We got 3 to give away. Manana, come and find out if you're going.
Right.
If you're already going, we're excited.
Jack Smith saying Johnny already looking at an apartment. Me and him both. We're gonna just do the show from our
studio, bachelor pad studio. Get a nice futon in there, maybe a flat screen. Things are looking up for us.
That's right.
Things are bad. Like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. It's been a tough week with everything going on with the Coyotes. Hopefully brought a little bit of levity here on today's show. Cardinals are 2 weeks out from what is going to be a historic event, and there's no better coverage, respectfully, than this podcast right here. For Bo Brack, my phenomenal co-host, Damon Dog, behind the scenes, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll back on a Football Friday. Be well. Peace out.
We all silly like the mayor.